Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to part two of the group exercise nutrition. And this is a key follow-up to all of the amazing questions we had. So, yeah, my name is Marcus, back with Tim, part number two. So, we're excited to cover off, the remaining questions that we couldn't cover in the webinar. So, yeah, we're gonna move straight into the first key objectives of this particular session. So number one is just to really answer those specific questions. There were so many that add so much value, and this is really just to support your own learning. So you can be awesome, amazing instructors that are performing well, feeling good, and feeling knowledgeable in the realms of nutrition, but specifically related to group exercise and how you feel. So without further ado, we've got a ton of questions. So throughout the session, this is recording, so if you need to pause anything, rewind it, you can. It's at your own time. So we'll cover as much detail and cover as all these questions as best we can. Any follow-ups, then pop them in the Les Mills UK group. But we have 7 key topics that we're covering today. The first one is looking at calorie tracking, how you calculate that weekly, daily, and there's discussions around that. Food and fuel options, how to get the most out of your teaching pre-class. Yeah. Drink hydration. Tim spoke about electrolytes last time, intra-carb drinks as well, so we'll cover into that. Supplements, protein shakes, protein bars, creatine, we'll cover. And then there was quite a few questions on how to achieve fat loss when teaching as well, so Tim will touch that. And 2 more, we have diet and diet culture. So we've had some questions about that, and then some additional questions outside of those 7 topics. So we are going to dive straight into number 1, calorie tracking. So the first question is, what's the best way to work out how many calories you should be eating, and how do you adjust this for gym days / non-gym days?
All right. So, how to the best way to calculate calories every kind of day. Essentially, the best way to do it is to actually track yourself for a week. Start off on a Monday, weigh yourself dry, and then record with a logbook. How many calories, how much macronutrients you're taking in from protein, carbs, and fats. Add them up over the week, and then divide by 7 to get a rough average as to what your daily average was. And then if you maintain your body weight, that will give you a fairly good starting point as to what your maintenance calories is and how you need to kind of move on from there. There are some online calculators that I'm going to show you a little bit later on that you can take a screenshot of. These online calculators are good, they're useful, but I have to really stress that they are just an online calculator. They take a couple of numbers from yourself, your height, your weight, your age, you punch a couple of numbers, and they give you the calories that you should be aiming for. Some of the calculators that I've also shared with you will have an activity kind of coefficient, so you can times your number by 1.2 or 1.4 or 1.7, depending how active you are. But the problem with that is my moderate activity, my understanding of what moderate may be, maybe different to yours, or maybe different to the person who created that online calculator. So again, it's a rough estimate, and we can't be too obsessed with the intricate kind of numbers. I think using online calculators is the short way to figure it out. You can also use an app like MyFitnessPal to give you a rough idea as well. But the best way to kind of figure it out is to just take the time, take the 5-7 days to calculate your average, see where you are, and then figure out where your kind of maintenance is. And then if you're needing more energy, then you need a bit more fuel. If you're looking for a bit of weight loss, you need to be in a negative calorie deficit. So a couple of options. There's no one best way, just whatever kind of suits yourself. And yeah, you do have some options, but I would try go for the logbook option. It will help you see exactly what you're doing on every different day and how you feel to kind of move on from there.
Yeah.
What was the second part of that question, Marcus, about adjusting for gym days?
So how do you adjust this for gym days / non-gym days? So there's a question just below that relates to when you change your calories. Would you change your calories each day for different day and class amounts? So they kind of two go together.
Right. Okay. So yeah, there are two approaches there, depending on your kind of busy activity days. You know, some of us may be teaching 4, 5, 6 classes on one day, and then we may have a complete rest day as well. So that's a big difference. I would certainly think about having more fuel, particularly more carbs, on those really highly active days, because it's going to help you kind of get through performance wise, recovery wise, 100%. If your teaching is fairly spread out over the weekend, over the week, and you're doing maybe 1 or 2 or 0 classes, then you may just have an average macro, set of macros of protein, carbs, and fats for every day, Monday to Sunday. So it can be evenly spread. If you do have, a high number, as I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 classes, then yes, it's definitely worthwhile considering thinking about having additional fuel, having that as a higher carb day perhaps, or a higher fuel day, just to make sure that you've got that energy and that fuel in your body for those days.
Right. So really, it's about a bit more energy on the busier days.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just as your body needs it. If your body needs that more energy, take an extra fuel. If you don't need that much energy, then it's not it's not as critical.
Right. So next one we have is I have a sedentary job, although I use a standing desk, but I teach and train 6 out of 7 days. What additional considerations should I take and advice on how to balance the calorie intake? Anything else?
There's not much we can really. It's not a great deal you really need to think about too much considerations. I would go back to the 5-step plan mentioned in the webinar, and just think about spacing out your fuel. Regular protein feeds throughout the day. Ensure that throughout the day you're getting enough carbohydrate enough fats as well, and that at the end of the day you have your total number of macros that you have. So depending on your job, you may be able to get a breakfast and a lunch and then like a pre-class snack, fantastic. Or you may have to go for a longer period without lunch or something like that. All that really kind of matters is making sure that you hit total calories for that day, and you hit close as you can to your protein, carbs, and fats throughout that day. If you are teaching, obviously, in the evening, it's always worthwhile to try and make sure you have a bit of a pre-fuel snack beforehand. And when you do go home at 8, 9, 10 o'clock, that you do have a meal after there as well. So it's just about spreading it out throughout the day, going back to the 5-step plan, and making sure that it just fits your lifestyle. Tweak it, trial it, see what works, see which week works best with this approach, and see what week works best with that approach, and then just adjust and monitor and feedback yourself, and then just make the little changes that you need to.
Great. So next one we have is, where do those of us that work a normal 9 to 5 and only teach a few classes a week fall in the GFI versus general population comparison?
Good question. So, yeah, I don't think there's a definitive line as to when you do flick over. All the stuff we spoke about previously about the diet culture and different approaches is obviously for very essential individuals and obviously very highly active individuals. I think maybe for yourself, for anybody that is around the 2, 3, 4 classes, if you're not quite sure if you very much of a highly active GFI or more gym population, is don't worry about the kind of labels that I've kind of used, that I've kind of brought up. Just think about making sure that you have your foods, you have your nutrition that meets your lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is, although you might not be teaching a lot of classes, you may be really highly active. You may be doing a lot of cycling, a lot of walking, a lot of climbing hills and stuff with family and friends on the weekends. So it just think about creating or having a nutrition approach that meets your needs and your lifestyle. If your needs and lifestyle isn't that intense and that highly active, like 15, 20 classes, well then fine. It's more about making sure that you still have adequate calories throughout the day. You've got regular protein feeds. You have enough kind of carbohydrate to give you energy when you need it, and you're getting enough kind of fats to make sure that you have optimal health of every macronutrient. So you just got to see what suits you best. I know that's a very unsexy answer, but I think that one definitely suits for that one.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of that term, that one glove doesn't fit everybody, and you related to the car analogy last time, which the guys can go back to check that out, as everybody's different needs. So great. Thanks, Tim. Next one, sometimes approximately 30 minutes after classes, especially after weekend classes, I get lightheaded and really cold, as in teeth chattering. Need to put on 2 jumpers and still cold. Any idea if this is likely related to nutrition?
Very, very difficult to say without a questionnaire, a food diary, activity diary, all that kind of stuff. So very difficult to just be able to give a succinct answer. Unfortunately, the answer I could give you is possibly, yeah, it could possibly be related. It could be an extreme reaction to having very, very low blood sugar, but there may be other factors involved there as well. So first port of call I would advise is to track your foods, have a look, do a bit of a food diary for a week, see how much food you're taking in, compare it to the level of activity that you are doing and you're teaching, and then see if you think maybe actually I probably could be doing with a bit more food throughout the week. Then see how that goes first. If that doesn't really quite help and you're still feeling, as you say, on the weekends, feeling really kind of cold and a little bit lightheaded, then it might be worthwhile a little trip to the docs to see if there's anything underlying there that may be causing that. But yeah, it may be nutrition, but there may be other things there, and unfortunately, I can't really diagnose that too well without much more information. But yeah, those are probably the 2 best approaches. Bit of food tracking, see how it goes. Otherwise, if it still persists, then pop into your doctor and see if there's anything underlying there for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'd just like to add, Tim, I think the key thing you said at the start of the session on tracking is the real good starting point, because most people don't do that. We kind of guess, or we think we're eating too much, or we think we're not eating enough, but we never actually know because we never track it. And I know you'll do this with your PT clients. I've done the same with mine in the past. That initial week is so important to set you up for success when you have those guidelines on what you're doing, and relate that to also how you're feeling. So we
Yeah.
definitely both stress get that login for those 7 days as your baseline.
For sure, you hear it. I hear it all the time. After say like the first week, it'll be a case of I didn't realize this, or it was really clear to me where I could be improving my nutrition. I hear those comments a lot, just because you've sat down for a week, you've written down the food you've taken in, and then it doesn't take a genius to look at it and go, you know what, I haven't eaten enough for all the stuff I'm doing. There's a 4-hour gap window here. I've not maybe had enough protein. I've gone for all low fat options, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's such an easy, simple, cheap way of just assessing your food with a food diary. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Right. Cool. So next one, is it worth looking at an accumulation of calories and exercise over a week rather than a daily count?
Yes, I love this question. Very much so, definitely. So many times I think saying, it's net calories over the kind of week. Yes, of course, we want to have macros, proteins, and carbs and all that stuff in every day, because if we are consistent through every day, it's a much better chance of us being consistent at that end week. And that's where obviously sometimes those extreme diets will be very restrictive Monday to Friday. It's like a 1200, 1400, and then the weekends we literally just kind of blow out because it's a freebie, cheat weekend kind of thing, and whatever else. But yes, essentially, that's why it's really key, as I mentioned really early on, about tracking over the week, seeing where you are. And you can see on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hey, I'm really, really low. On a Saturday, Sunday, I'm really, really high. And you can figure out, where you can make improvements. Could you be a bit steady? Do you need to be higher on this day? Could you be lower on that day? But definitely, yeah, definitely, look to, because we do get a bit mind boggled between, like, this workout I burned 400 calories. Yeah, but that's fine. That's 60 minutes out of 7 days, and every day is 24 hours. So it's having that mindset that it's the bigger picture of the 7 day kind of week, and make sure that we try to stay consistent throughout, and we don't get too caught up in well, that was a 400 calorie workout, it was a 450 calorie workout, but it's all about the end of the week. Because if you're under by the end of the week, you'll be in a bad place. If you're over by the end of the week, you'll be obviously kind of in a weight gaining kind of situation. So being calorie deficit for one day is not maybe a huge issue. Being calorie deficit over 7 days, yes, different story. Being over your calories for one day, not a problem. Being over your calories for 7 days, yeah, then it's that consistency of obviously, the energy balance going one way or the other. So yeah, definitely look at the accumulation. Good
Yeah.
question. I like it.
That's how you spoke about taking that flexible approach, in life and group fitness, teaching classes, and that's how people become flexible, isn't it? It's not so rigid, and like you say, you have that blow up which takes you over. So yeah,
Yeah.
really good.
So sorry, mate. Yeah, even just thinking about that, like if you go over on one of the days because maybe you're a bit stressed, or maybe something happened at work, or whatever happened, like life's struggles will kind of happen, and you maybe just overeat on a Wednesday. Well, that's fine. If you get back on track Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're totally good. So it's and that makes a massive difference in alleviating that anxiety, that stress, that like guilt feeling of like, I overeaten 400 calories. Right, cool, no problem at all. We'll just spread it out over the week. It's 7 days that really count. You're not going to gain weight by having one big meal or anything like that. So yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great. And last one part of this section, would you say using Apple Watch slash Fitbit is a good way to calculate energy expenditure?
Um, in a short answer, no, not really. I think the kind of calorie trackers, the fitness stuff, it's a big market. It can be useful, I think, for people that want to like work towards numbers. It can be useful. I think for fitness instructors, we're going to be teaching, whether we teach a body attack class and we burn 400 or 445, it's not going to make a huge difference. We're there to teach, and to be connective with the music and with everybody in the class. The problem with obviously those calculators, much like I mentioned earlier on with the calorie calculator, it's just a bunch of numbers punched into like a bit of software, and they'll punch out like a number. And if we become too reliant on them and too obsessed with them, then we start doing a bit of maths, and then we get a bit, that kind of obsessive, disordered kind of thinking. So it's good to use. It's maybe good to kind of monitor or maybe have an interest in if you're a group instructor. But I wouldn't get too hung up on them. The best way to monitor your own calories in terms of your weight gain or your weight loss is literally by tracking for a few weeks, becoming a bit more intuitive, learning what macros and which kind of foods, and you'll kind of free yourself from the kind of shackles of the online calculators. Along with MyFitnessPal and food labels, there's always a degree of inaccuracy, and it's not a deliberate inaccuracy. They're just estimations. So you can have up to 10% on food labels, you can have maybe up to 5 to 10% on MyFitnessPal, up to so there's no point trying to be down to the very last calorie. It's about that. Are you within margins? Are you hitting the right numbers? Are you getting close? Are you consistent? That's where the focus should ideally be, as opposed to worrying about them too much. So I wouldn't get too bothered with them. If yeah, I think I think that's my answer. Yeah, I wouldn't get too bothered with them.
Guidelines and maybe an initial guideline to help support people. Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
grand. Brilliant. So I think that we had some examples just to show the guys in terms of
Yeah.
the online trackers. So that was all the questions related to calorie calculation. So you guys that are watching this back, you can take a screenshot. We'll add some documents, PDFs as well, just where you can pop to these sites. There's also a site on supplements that Tim will touch on a little bit later, and then yeah, recipes and supplement grading on that last link. Yeah, and there's also a couple of steps in terms of calculating calories. So again, you can use this, screenshot it, have a pause, hit pause on the webinar, and that'll help rather than let it run. Same with this. This is your tracking apps that Tim spoke about. And then lastly, it's the good old classic pen and paper. Can't
Old
go
school.
wrong with
Old school.
old school. Yeah. And it sits in your mind more when you write stuff down. Yeah. When you physically write stuff down, it sits in your brain
Mhm.
more. So get to WH Smith, buy yourself some pens and paper. Get on it. Cool.
Yeah.
The next topic we have is related to fuel options. So we'll get cracking into those. What kind of snacks are better to get more energy if you're an instructor that has an office job and you teach around 7 p.m. after a long day at work?
Just well, to be honest, any snacks that you like, any snacks that you enjoy, going back again to that 5-step plan, we're always looking for foods with protein and carbs, performance, recovery, macronutrients. Remember, protein and carbs. So any snacks, you know, again, it can be the old baked beans and on potato, baked potato. It can be a bit of Greek yogurt. It can be, you know, bars. It can be sandwiches. It can be cream rice. Gave a lot of meal ideas for inclusive and for plant-based instructors on the webinar as well. So go back and have a quick look at that. But anything that has calories in it, if you want more energy, if you need energy, you need something with calories. So if you have maybe an option between a 300 calorie flapjack or something, and then a light diet bar of 90 calories, you know, you're going to be teaching in an hour's time, well, you know where you're going to go. You know, you're going to go for the kind of higher calorie option, sticking to obviously high nutrition meals and snack ideas where you can. But again, I'm just applying that little bit of flexibility, that little bit of common sense, and just see how it goes. Again, you know, try out a couple of options. How did you feel? Did you feel great? Cool. I'll keep that for next week. I didn't quite feel enough, or maybe this food kept me feeling a bit bloated. Right, I'm not going to have that food again. And you know, just a bit of trial and error. You'll never nail it 100% the first time, but that's where the logbooks come in handy, and the planner and the tracker that I showed up in the previous webinar as well. You know, use them to just tweak and monitor and adjust as you need. But yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get big on self-assessment, really, isn't it? It's what we talk about when we teach, and it's the same in this space. You know, even write down with your days in terms of food, log how you feel like before, after class. You know, because that will support that with those foods and moods as well. So yeah, get logging, then you create that more effective self-assessment piece. Grand. Should you always eat before an early morning class? I just have tea with milk before and eat mid-morning. Should I rethink?
So what was the first part of the question then, Marcus? Sorry,
Should you always eat before an early morning class?
Okay. So this will be quite a bit of a topic, and probably cover a few questions around this. So this is totally dependent on the individual. This is really your call. There are a few, you know, considerations to have. There are a few plan Bs, plan Cs. There are a few things to kind of think about. So should you always have something? Well, no, not always. It really depends if you need something, excuse me, or if you want something. So yeah, it's not about you should always have. If somebody said to me, I'm teaching at 6:30, should I have a big food before, any food before it? Well, it depends. It really just does depend on you, on your program, and how your body works. The key thing is that if you don't like taking on much food before you teach in the morning, like really early morning, then that last meal, that last recovery meal, you know, we put all the carbs and muscle glycogen back up. So we're kind of filling up the petrol tank in the car, you know, the night before. So when you go for an 8-hour fast of when you're sleeping, you've got glycogen in the muscles ready to go. Okay, so that last meal becomes now probably even more significant. And if you wake up, find tea or coffee or whatever, go to the class and start doing your teaching. Fantastic. Then yes, I will still be looking for an intra-carb drink in that class to make sure that you have readily available glucose in the muscle cell. You'll probably find that it takes 10-20 minutes for you to feel, you know, awake and the body to be really up and going. That's because it just takes a bit of time to lift up the heart rate, to warm up the body, and to remember to take the muscle glycogen at the muscle and let the hormone glucagon make it into glucose and then into ATP for energy. So it takes a little while for that to kind of happen. So yeah, that's the one sort of approach. If you find yourself feeling really kind of flat and now you want to maybe look for a couple of meal options or food options before you go teach at say 6:30, well, again, it's a bit of trial and error. You're going to probably want to stick to foods that are not overly high in protein or overly high in fats, because they take a lot longer to digest out of your digestive tract and stomach. So grabbing a banana, having maybe some fresh orange juice, maybe having a small smoothie, you know, a bit of fruit in there, a little bit of milk, a bit of water, anything on those lines that you can have. Again, it's not because a banana has tons of energy, but again, it's 20 grams of good fuel that your body needs. It can help get you started. So you can look to something like that, a quick snack, you know, a bar, an apple, a banana, a low-fat yogurt perhaps, not because fat's bad, but because fat just takes longer to clear out the gut. You can try that and see how it goes, having that half an hour before you go teach. No problem at all. If you actually more kind of like myself, I would really, really struggle trying to teach on an empty stomach. I'll probably have to wake up even earlier to make sure that I can have my breakfast a good hour before and I didn't feel overly kind of bloated. Probably a smaller portion size, but I'll probably stick with the same foods that I do have at breakfast just because personal preference and habit more than anything. So yeah, you might need to move that a bit forward, maybe shrink the portion size a little bit and see how it goes. So there is no one answer for that one. Just a few considerations to make. You know, if you're feeling knackered, think about trying something. The intra-carb drink will be very, very kind of helpful around then as well. And then just make sure that after you do have that morning class or two classes, come 9 o'clock, then you have a really good, you know, five-step plan, you know, meal of protein, carbs, and to put all that muscle glycogen back in, put all that fuel back into the body in case you need to go teach again later that day. So hopefully that answers that question. It really is quite an individual number.
Yeah, I agree. It's trial and error, getting things right that sits for you. I used to always rely on, you know, protein shake just with milk, whole milk and a banana, jam
Yeah,
on to jam on toast, old school. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, having to play with those different options. Cool. Next we have thoughts on protein shakes slash bars. Should we use them and which types are best?
So should you use them? Well, it all depends. Again, do you need them? Can you get enough protein in without the use of a bar or a shake? So if you can, you don't really need them. If you struggle to kind of get that sort of food in or have the opportunities to eat, you know, three proper meals, say again maybe it's your job or you're just really, really busy on your feet and you can't really have that lunchtime or that snack opportunity of actually sitting down and eating a meal, you need a bar or a shake. Well, then you kind of need a bar and a shake because going back to that food pyramid, the most important thing is getting in the total number of calories and then it's the macronutrients across. Okay, so yeah, it just depends. You know, if you can get your macros and your total calories in. It's always a case of, you know, food first. You know, we want food. We don't want to take too many corners. We don't want to rely on supplements by any means. So we want to try to eat as much food as we can. But sometimes it's just difficult. Sometimes it's difficult with a family. If you're really busy, if you're running around, all that stuff. It's good to have a couple of bars in a gym bag or, you know, a couple of shakes to have handy. And you know that if you can't get to a cafe, if you can't prep your meal before or have a decent lunch or whatever, at least you've got a 250 calorie, you know, protein bar and you've got a 300 calorie shake or something like that. Well, that's all right, you know, because the most important thing is getting the fuel in. So yeah, I would look to kind of use them. Personally, I've used them before, but I'm a bit of a kind of a heavy guy. I have a big calorie kind of number to kind of reach, and sometimes I will just struggle. And if I'm at work and I don't, if I miss a meal, then it does come in handy. It's that plan B, plan C that I was spoken about before. But you know, I don't use them every day, so it's really again individual needs. So yeah, hopefully that's answered that question.
Yeah, good answer. And when you're talking about the pyramid, sometimes often what I find hearing people is that they go for the supplements first instead of getting the calories in and getting those good macronutrients in. So the balance is off there at the putting the top of the pyramid at the bottom. Start with the
Yeah,
supplements first. So yeah,
yeah.
if you guys listening, go back to that pyramid. Think about the basics first, the foundation. Yeah, and that's supplements are at the top of that pyramid. Cool. All right. What would be the best ideal food to eat if you teach back-to-back classes to keep your energy levels topped up? Ooh.
So type of food would be similar to what I mentioned before, protein and carbs and low fats. So carbs probably dominant or probably the most important macronutrient to have. Ideally, getting in a bit of protein there to put readily available amino acids into the bloodstream to help prevent muscle damage. If you're doing high intensity classes, you want to be looking after your muscle tissue obviously as well. So protein and carbs ideally. Big focus on carbohydrates, whether it might be a gel, it might be fruits again, or my old favorite, just a bit of cream rice is just so easy, cheap, and it's exactly what you kind of need at those times. And try and keep the fats low. Again, as I mentioned before, not because fat is bad, but because fats just take a lot longer to digest at the gut. So if you do have back-to-back classes with a very small window, it's any food that you can take. So you might not be able to have like actual food. Maybe you can just have a bar or a bit of fruit, but then you want to make sure that you get enough calories in via liquids and drinks, and that's where your carbs handy. That's where maybe a shake is handy. Even the old-fashioned chocolate milk is really kind of handy as well. So yeah, it's all about just making sure that it's carbs number one, bit of protein if you can, and then try to keep the fats down. So whatever foods suit your preference and suit your kind of lifestyle, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I know on a triple on a Thursday night, it's a good old jacket potato, cheese and beans.
Yeah, all the way, man, all the way.
All right. Tips on getting enough protein from snacking, aside from snacking on chicken every day. So I'm just gonna read that again. Tips on getting enough protein aside from snacking on chicken every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Just think about some other protein sources other than chicken. Chicken probably is one of the kind of go-to ones, I guess, because it's very versatile, it's very cheap, but it's very high in nutrition. It is a very good source of protein. Back in the webinar, I mentioned about different protein sources, whether it's animal or whether it's plant, have a different amino acid kind of spectrum across the 22 amino acids. So you really want to try to vary your protein intake. So other snack ideas for protein, well, you've got your kind of high protein and then moderate fat kind of options of salmon, eggs, and beef. Then you've got your slightly kind of leaner options of like chicken, turkey, and white fish. And then obviously you've also got your plant-based options as well. So lentils, tofu, beans, etc., etc. Right? So you've got lots of different variations. I would just start looking at get a couple of plant ones in, get a couple of the ones of fat in, so the protein and fat options, and then get a couple of the white fish. Just vary it across. I'm not too prescriptive with things like meal plans and stuff, but what I do for myself is I'll try set up a 3-day split of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and repeat that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So every night is a different protein source for like my dinner. So I get that variation in. It's not too repetitive, and I don't over rely on one source. So across, yeah, you got plenty of options. Just find 3 or 4 other ones that you like, and try and get them try and get them into your diet in your week.
Yeah, nice. This is one you kind of knocked off already. I can't eat nuts or seeds. What do you recommend? So you covered a good few options there. Again, we've got the examples on the webinar, which Tim broke down and showed you those examples of loads of different options. So check those out again, and that will give you some more options as well as what Tim's just mentioned. I teach every morning 6:45 a.m. What would you recommend that can keep my energy up but not bring it up? I currently have nothing. We kind of covered that, I feel, with the previous conversation and trying different options as well. Top tips for increasing protein: always go over carbs, but get half my protein in. So yeah, you kind of just spoke to that as well, so that's knocked off. As instructors, we often substitute a coffee for fuel rather than a meal. What are the ramifications of this during energy and that false energy coffee high?
Yeah, become a big coffee lover myself. But yes, what are the ramifications? Well, essentially, if you are not fueling adequately, if you don't have enough carbohydrate or enough protein in, you'll end up being in a bit of a catabolic state. You'll end up kind of burning away muscle tissue. Ramifications then onwards from there will be sore muscles, injury, possibly loss of income. You'll be really grumpy, really moody, possibly as well. Just really annoyed, feeling frustrated and stuff. So yeah, there are a lot of ramifications if we not so much over rely on coffee, I guess, or maybe even the Red Bulls. That's a lot of clients will say, rely on Monster Energy, rely on Red Bull and stuff to kind of get me through this double or triple or whatever. So yeah, it's just a case of making sure that we put enough fuel into the tank for the body to do what we're asking it to do, week in and week out. So yeah, injury, sore muscleness, muscle soreness, sore muscles, DOMs, all that kind of stuff, as well as possibly, depending, you could end up losing out a little bit of income if you get injured, and you'll end up just burning away kind of muscle tissue. You'll lose that strength, you'll lose that performance, you'll just not be in a good place. So don't need to cut out coffee, obviously, but just try and get the food in where you can.
Yeah, not replacing that liquid for fuel. Instead of food. Yeah, it's that typical burnout, illness. Yeah,
Mhm.
symptoms that come across. Well, what do you recommend for a GFI doing RPM and sprint? Nice early hours of the morning, 4 days a week at 6:45 a.m. who wants to sustain weight and increase muscle? Ooh.
Right. So big possibility there. There's a big environment there where you could end up doing a fair bit of damage to your, like muscle tissue in the morning if we don't have a bit of fuel in the body before you're kind of teaching those class, particularly RPM, tough program. And then sprint, as you know, is pretty tough as well. Being a hip program. So the key thing there is to make sure that again you're eating enough throughout the kind of day. Protein is spread throughout the day where possible. Protein and carbs before you teach. So again, that might just be like a smoothie. It may be 20 grams of whey, a banana, a bit of milk, a bit of water in a smoothie. Half hour, 45 minutes before it. Just think about muscle protection more than anything else. Because RPM sprint, what's that? 45, 30 minutes. So about an hour and a half of the teaching. If you have that, say for example, at 5:30, start teaching at 6. I know that the time's a bit different, but then if you get back finishing at 8, back of 8, again, remember what I mentioned in the webinar about amino acids kind of going up, influx, high concentration in the bloodstream, and then leaving the body back to zero after 4 hours. So, protein in at that 5 o'clock kind of mark, 5:30, and then again at 9 o'clock. So it's just making sure that you get the right macronutrients in throughout the day, and that you use the rest of the day to make up for those for the classes in the morning. So just that's it really. I'm not sure I can really say much more. Intracarb will definitely help there as well, but try and make sure you have protein and carbs on either side of your RPM and sprint doubles.
Yeah, great answer. Okay, last one in part of this section. I teach a lot of body balance and bar yoga classes per week. What is the advice for this nutrition rather than lots of cardio-based classes?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's pretty much similar to the questions around, sedentary jobs, am I GFI, am I Gen Pop, kind of stuff. So I've been in those classes, and although they might not be as intense and as cardio based and as like stressful on muscle tissue, you still are expending energy. So I would still just go back to the fundamentals, go back to the nutrition pyramid, and just see where you are. Like, what do you need? Do you feel energized enough? Do you want to lose a bit of weight? Do you, what's the goal? What's the sort of needs? How do you feel? And then decide, right, I think I need a bit more fuel. Right, I think I'm going to up my protein. Think about those guidelines again for each macronutrient. There's a very, very high chance, if that question came from female, from a lady, that probably under eating protein. So if you want that strong, lean body, we've got to get the kind of protein in. Guidelines in the first webinar to kind of aim for. Carb guidelines as well as kind of fat guidelines. So, you can kind of see where you are and then just adjust things as a need. You don't maybe always need to make a big change or big jump. It's just a bit of self-evaluation, as Marcus has said. See where you are, see where you want to be. Go back to the first webinar, look at the pyramid, look at the guidelines, look at the meals, and then see how you can kind of make a few changes if you need to from there onwards.
Yeah, great. So that is all our questions on food and fuel sources. Some really, really good questions, really good answers. So hopefully that will help. We're going to move on to the third topic, which is all about drink and hydration, which, there's always a biggie because we tend to cut ourselves short on hydration. So we've got some good questions here. We'll start with the first one, which is, please can you recommend a brand for the electrolyte drink that we spoke about on the first webinar?
I can do. I'm not sure if I can recommend a particular brand, but you will find there are many different sort of companies and brands out there. Just type in carb electrolyte drink, you'll probably get hit with Google, a good number of different companies. Just make sure that the only things to look out for is that it's going to have dextrose, glucose, or maltodextrin, or even cyclic dextrin as your carb source, and make sure it has some of the electrolytes, chemicals that we mentioned before, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Those are the electrolytes that you're looking for. So anything that has them in will be absolutely fine. So any intra-carb energy drink should have those electrolytes in it, and will be very, very helpful.
Yeah,
So
great.
don't really want to name any brands, but yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good ones out there. Like you say, Google will bring up some
Yeah.
great examples of that. So yeah, that's all good. That's all good. Thank you. Water. How much is enough? I always feel I don't drink enough, but then I need to wee. Help.
Yeah, that weeing business is a nuisance, isn't it? So yeah, obviously, I mean, there are guidelines as to how much. I think it's 0.033 per kilo or pound body weight. I know there is some number out there, guideline. But again, if you're not drinking enough, that's where the food diary will come into its use. And the planner that we used in the webinar before, how much liquid are you taking on? And if you're feeling a bit pants towards the end of the day, well, I only had like 500 mils of water. I had 3 cups of tea or coffee. Right, I need a bit more. So up it to 1.5, up it towards 2 liters of water or juice, whatever it may be. A good baseline, depending on your height and your weight and your size, male, female, maybe start at 2 liters of water, 2 liters of juice a day for the lads or males, or anybody else a little bit bigger perhaps. Go for 2.5. Set it out as like a baseline. So get a big juice bottle, 2 liters every day. No matter what I'm doing, I'm taking 2 or 2.5 liters of water on, a day. And then if you're teaching, you can add on. Again, there's loads of different kind of numbers, and people say it's 500 mils per hour, some say it's 750, whatever. But just think about every class or every hour that you teach a high intensity exercise, think about at least 500 mils to 750 mils of water. So that's like a pint at least. Right, drank that, I've sweated this out, perspirated out, I need to take hydration back on. And that's where the electrolytes and energy drink will be really helpful, because if we only rehydrate with water, we end up unintentionally worsening that electrolyte balance within our body. Hence, we'll get cramps, memory loss, and all that stuff.
Water is such an undervalued, benefit. Underrated in terms of the benefits it's going to bring, just simply being hydrated. In terms of performance, energy, just feeling good, and your body being efficient with anything.
Yeah. And not to get too complicated, but there's a lot of chemical reactions that happen within your body that require water. So it's, if you don't have water present in the muscle cell, then a lot of your body can't do what it's trying to do. So you're just kind of strangling yourself almost. So water, I mean, it's like a life thing. If we go without food for a day or two, we're all right. If we go out for water for a day or two, then we're in bad neck of the woods. So it's always really interesting. People say about water, and like, since when did water become a bad thing? Water is like the thing that keeps you alive. It's very, very important. Stop fearing water, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Great. Recommended intracarb drink and benefits. You kind of covered that off in the first question. So that's all good. Would you recommend hydration tablets added to exercise class water if concerned about the ability to recover?
Yeah, hydration tablets, there are a few out there, specific electrolyte drinks as well, that can be useful. The thing about them is they don't really have any energy in them. They have salts, they have minerals, they have electrolytes, which is fantastic. They don't have calories or carbs. So depending on if you're getting enough fuel, enough carbs, then you may look to hydration kind of tablets, the salts and that, fine, no problem at all, because you're putting back electrolytes in, fantastic. But if you are struggling with energy and you're looking for an easy way to get 20 or 30 grams of carbohydrate into your body, then going for that intra-carb drink with electrolytes will probably be the slightly better option. But hydration capsules are really good. They're more kind of come to light for people doing long distance stuff, in real hot conditions. I have used them before when doing the one lives and whatnot of 5, 6, grits and a couple of pumps and whatever else, just knowing that I'm literally sweating loads, that I need that, the salts back in along with everything else. So they can have its place. So it just depends. Just be aware that they don't have any calorie value. They have electrolytes, but they don't have any energy or carb and calorie value. So yeah, they can be useful, of course, definitely.
Nice, nice. Can you add juice to water, or does it have to be plain water?
No, you can whack a bit of juice in there if you like, no problem at all. You can go for the trendy bit of lemon in there if you want a bit of lemon taste, or lime, or just a bit of old-fashioned Robinson's juice in there every now and again for a bit of taste. Yeah, there's no problem with that at all. Yeah, of course, just
Great.
no
Any
problem.
comments on drinking coffee? I like 5 mugs a day in cold weather. Do you have to drink more water to compensate?
Yeah, interesting. I think I made a post about this last night or the night before. Coffee does have a net hydration effect, but doesn't have a very high hydration effect. So, fundamentally, if you take on say 300 moles of coffee, you will still be a net hydration of like 10 to 20%. I think that the numbers show. So, yeah, if you do drink a lot of coffee, then if you have that baseline of 2.5 liters a day, well, that's fine. As long as you have your 2.5 liters baseline of water hydration intake, you can have as many coffee as you want, because all it would do is just slightly add to the hydration of your body. However, there's always a case of going to the extremes. So 5 mugs is probably heading towards the kind of top side. That also depending how big the mug is. But anything above 7, 8 cups a day, yeah, you are going to be loading your body up with a lot of caffeine. So it just sort of kind of depends. I would try to stick down the kind of middle of the road. I wouldn't knock too many off your 5 mugs, but it's just again figuring out where you need to be. The issue is always think about too much of anything is going to be like really kind of bad thing. But as long as you've got that baseline of water to make sure you're hydrated enough, whether you have 1 cup, 2 cups, even 5 mugs, you're not going to be dehydrating yourself. So that's the main takeaway, I guess.
Get that baseline in. Yeah, that's that
Yeah,
main.
sure.
Yeah. How do you ensure you are replenishing electrolytes?
Well, it's a tricky one to kind of obviously guess, because you can't see it, you can't really feel it. But if you start to kind of have a bit of cramp, you're low on electrolytes, particularly magnesium probably. If you start getting headaches, feeling lightheaded, there's a fairly good chance. So all you can really do is have a look at the foods with high electrolytes in them. Try and make sure you have them on a regular basis throughout the week. Incorporate that into a carb and electrolyte drink, and you should be good to go. It's very hard to actually tell 100% what your concentration is of electrolytes until you start, feeling all the kind of symptoms.
Guess goes back to that log of the week. How you're feeling, what foods, water, fluids you're having in
Yeah.
per day will
Mm-hmm.
help support that. And last one is, do you have any examples of foods that contain electrolytes?
Yeah, well, top of my head, dairy products, so milk, yogurt's high in electrolytes. Your vegetables like kale, spinach, broccoli, high in electrolytes. Fruits, strawberries, bananas, high in electrolytes. I think some nuts as well, legumes, pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews. So yeah, again, Google will have the answers for you, but there's easy 10 foods there. It's much the same thing. If you eat consistently good high nutrition foods, you'll get electrolytes in 100%, because all the foods that I've just mentioned, it's either fruit, it's either veg, a bit of dairy. They're all good high quality foods. So yeah, as long as you're consistent eating them, you'll not need to worry about particularly going out and choosing a single high electrolyte food. You'll cover your bases with a good range of foods and meals and snacks. But Google will no doubt have a nice long list of 10, 20 foods, but that's a pretty good place to start, I think.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. So that's drink hydration done. Next one is supplements. So we've already spoken about protein shakes, protein bars as supplements. And this one question is, could you Spend a few minutes talking about creatine.
Hmm. So creatine, probably one of the most researched supplements sort of ever. Excuse me, incredibly safe, naturally occurring in some red meats and in some foods anyway. It's more to do with the different energy systems. So you may remember the sort of 0 to 10 second energy system, the creatine phosphate energy system, the one that's dealing with being explosive, really really fast demand of energy. Then we have our lactate, which is more the kind of 20 second to sort of 2 minute, and then we have our aerobic system, which is lower intensity and for minutes and hours and days and stuff. So creatine monohydrate, extensively researched, one of the most effective supplements to actually show in human studies and human research actually makes a difference. Some instructors have always asked me, is it worthwhile me taking it? And it all depends, again, on the individual, depending on the programs that you teach, depending how important is performance, for you. Is it really, really important, or are you just delighted? You're just happy to teach well, teach with energy, teach with passion, and that's it? Or are you chasing sort of numbers? Are you wanting to get stronger? All that kind of stuff. And that's a completely individual goal and mindset. Do you maybe do a bit of sport perhaps? Are you a bit of maybe a weightlifter or power lifter or anything like that? Then yeah, if you're heading along those kind of sport lines, including CrossFit WODs and competitions and stuff, then yeah, definitely I'll be looking towards that 100%. If you are very keen and looking for getting a bit more performance out, you want to just train a bit harder, you go to the gym to do a training, and you want to teach your combat, your pumps, your grits, everything a little bit harder, a bit better, then yeah, it will certainly help you train harder, take you longer to that point of recovery, to the longer point of fatigue. So essentially, if you can train harder for longer, you will get the benefits of that kind of strength adaptations. In terms of like cost and value, it is very, very cheap and it's very valuable in terms of what you get for what you kind of pay. Dosage wise, yeah, just you can go between 3 and 5 grams daily for a couple of days. There are loading protocols as well that you can kind of use, 10 days at 10 grams or 5 days at 20 grams. It's just about saturating a muscle with enough creatine in order to get the correct sort of feedback. Again, it's not a huge thing for us, perhaps. You can just go for 5 grams a day and you will get benefit, or you can obviously do one of the kind of loading protocols as well. Cycling on and off, there's no research to show there that you have to cycle. I do kind of cycle. I know a lot of other people do, just more out of a habit, just more out of a case of having a training program for maybe 2 or 3 months, a big focus, and then taking a week or two off and then dialing back up again. For me, that's probably more of a placebo thing than anything else. So you don't have to, but some people do. So yeah, it's not, you can use it. It's a great supplement to have. Just have it with your protein shake, have it with your orange juice in the morning, daily, 5 grams, 3 grams, or to 5 grams, easy as it is. But it's not necessary. If you just go out and teach and you're not too bothered about the performance, not too worried about training in the gym, you're not competing in a sport, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, it's not really needed at all. Examine one of the links that we showed you earlier on. Fantastic website, pure evidence-based, really unbiased. It gives you literally everything that you need to know about that, as well as the Australian Institute of Sport. Fantastic website and resources there to use and see where your money should be spent if you did want to go down the supplement route. It'll help you help stop you from wasting money in supplements that aren't really effective, if that makes sense. So yeah, hopefully that's creatine. The last thing, sorry, Marcus, the last thing I'll say about creatine, don't worry about going for the complicated ethyl ethers and all the other funny stuff. Creatine monohydrate is where it's at. It's where it's at. All right. So yeah, that's about it. I think that's my summary of creatine.
Yeah, that's great, and I think it was really good to just add that last point on about sometimes there's these jazzed up versions and loads of different options. So stick with the simplicity is always the best option. But yeah, it's like you said, it's cheap, super effective. I love kind of cycling it. Similar to you, have a period on, period off, then go back to it. But the benefits are so good. I'd just kind of add, like we've spoken about, get those foundations right before we start looking, for these supplements. But yeah, definitely a great. to use. Awesome. All right, we're going through. That supplement's done. We're on to a big one: fat loss whilst teaching.
Mm.
Quite a good few, yeah, a few questions around that. So yeah, I don't know if you want to kick things off just with the general stuff.
Yeah, I can do. Again, I did a little post about this maybe a week or two ago, perhaps, on Instagram about it. And it's literally generally when I work with clients, and it's mostly kind of about energy, and that's my focus, that's their focus. But a lot of the time, we end up seeing secondary kind of weight loss and fat loss, and that primarily is not because of anything magical that's sort of come up. It's because I've given a client, we are focusing now on enough energy, so we're not burning down muscle tissue. We have enough protein, we're having enough carbohydrate, we're having enough kind of fats, and we're actually taking time to make sure that we are eating well, we are eating consistently throughout the day, and we don't have those big blowouts of being overly restrictive and then blowing away 3, 4, 5, 6,000 calories on the weekend. So it's not because of anything magical that I've done. It's more a case of actually, let's start hitting 100 grams of protein, let's start hitting 220 grams of carbs a day, let's start hitting these numbers, following these guidelines, that 5-step plan, those macro kind of guidelines. Make sure the fundamentals are in place. I don't particularly focus on the top 2 things on the pyramid. It's really those bottom sort of two to three things. And just having clients, having instructors dial down, like really nail those fundamentals, make a huge difference. One, because you've got enough protein in your body, and we know from that energy balance seesaw, if you start having more protein in your body, that's going to help create the energy deficit, because it takes more energy to burn or to convert protein into energy in your gut. Having the correct amount of fuel and carbs as well throughout the body will make sure that you're not chasing or you're not burning and breaking down muscle tissue to help support your high teaching needs, and then enough fats to help facilitate fat metabolism and energy in the aerobic zones as well. The last kind of thing I said there was, something came to my head. I was going to say, I was talk about, and then talking about previously about high days and low days. So I would say, right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, these are your high teaching days. So we're going to have slightly higher carbs across these days. Protein will still be there because it's the most important macronutrient in terms of like health, because we can't store protein. So we'll have, say, a set amount of protein. We'll have slightly higher carbs in these days, slightly lower fats. And then on a day of complete rest, perhaps, or even a day of just one class, we'll have maybe slightly higher protein, slightly lower carbs, and then maybe just up fats a little bit to give you a bit more freedom with foods. And if you maybe just, for example, replicate that day in, day out and match it up with your lifestyle, with your teaching, within a week or 2 weeks, you'll feel 10 times better, and you've lost a few pounds without even thinking about losing weight. Because I don't like to go and chop away, cut calories. That's a race to the bottom. It's more about focusing on the other end of that scale, on your output. That's where you can create an energy deficit by focusing on that side. So fat loss when teaching, yeah, it can happen. We just got to be, a little bit careful. We can't cut calories drastically too much. We can have higher days when we kind of need to, and we can create that overall deficit across the week, as we mentioned before, but also by making sure that we have enough protein and carbs throughout the week. So yeah, hopefully that answers that one. Well,
yeah, there was
at least.
a couple of questions related to fat loss with 8 to 14 classes a week. Trying to increase muscle, drop fat. So those things kind of knock out those questions. And I guess sometimes the default can, like you say, be going back to dropping too many calories in those extreme 500 to 1,000 calorie type.
For sure. And what you're doing there, I think we mentioned in the other webinar, is you're asking your body to still do a big output, to still be very, very active, but actually you're giving it a fraction of the fuel it needs to do that. So if you start actually, giving your body the correct amount of kind of fuel, it helps create a deficit, not by cutting calories, but by increasing output. And if you have more fuel coming in your body, you'll have a higher NEAT, so that non-exercise activity will be higher, because your body won't feel as if it needs to go into this go slow eco mode. Your eat, so your exercise activity will be higher because you actually now have fuel, so you will burn more calories in class. You got more protein in your diet, so that's going to help that TEF, the thermal effect of food. So that creates the energy deficit. There's two ways to create energy deficit. One, cutting calories, but obviously the other one, the better one, is to increase the output. And if we, so yeah, stay away from the kind of cutting calories too much. Nail down the basics: enough protein, enough carbs, and you know, it will happen. You'll feel it soon enough.
Good. Yeah. Those keywords: consistency, logging as well. Logging. You know
Yeah,
what
for
you have.
sure.
Yeah. Great. So another question. I've read a lot about inflammation causing aches and pains and even disease. Food quality seems the main proposed solution. For example, an alkaline diet. Do you have any thoughts on this?
The alkaline diet, yeah, that's something I'll probably, yeah, I wouldn't. Alkaline diet, like, your body is acidic. Alkaline diet is a bit of a pseudoscience kind of thing. Inflammation, yeah, can kind of happen. I'll probably just look to make sure that you're eating high quality foods across. Alkaline diet, trying to avoid acidic foods like, you know, oranges and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Your body needs to be acidic. That's all come out of a bit of a scaremongering from, you know, finding out that cancer cells are slightly acidic. Yeah, but our whole body is slightly acidic because it kind of needs to be. So our body's acidic. Our body sits at a very, very fine pH. If, you know, of like 7.2 or 7.3 or something like that. If our body goes out of that, that's when we are in a bad place. So trying to kind of force down alkaline foods, our body, our digestive tract, all the enzymes through our gut, through mastication, through chewing, saliva, is acidic, slightly acidic, and it gets more and more acidic as it hits into our gut. Gastric acid, very acidic, because it's got to break down food. It's taking that food bolus and make it into the simple amino acids, into the simple glucose molecules, into the simple fatty acids. So alkaline diet, I would try to steer clear of that 100%, and just look to make sure that you've got a wide variation of foods. Yeah, food quality is important, 100%. So yeah, fruits, vegetables, you know, different protein sources, you know, animal or plant-based protein sources, and you're having a bit of fats across your diet as well. But yeah, I wouldn't go down the kind of, I'm going to try to eat alkaline foods, I'm going on an alkaline diet, because it's not really going to be helpful, I don't think.
All right, thank you. So we'll have two more questions in this section. You said, well, this is in our previous webinar, you said if you don't have enough energy, you're not eating enough calories. But what happens if you want to lose weight? I'm getting married next year and currently dress shopping, and I never have enough energy, but I can't increase my calories, otherwise I won't drop body fat. What do you have to do to have enough energy for a cut?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I first said. So I probably don't want to spend too much on it, because I'll probably end up repeating myself a little bit, but it goes back to making sure that on the days that you're really highly active, you've got enough fuel on those days, and you can create an energy deficit. The only way to trim off a few pounds, creating the energy deficit. So that's the kind of seesaw. You know, you want to tip it in this way. You don't need to cut calories here to create this. You can create that tip or that deficit by upping here. So I would look for increased kind of protein if you haven't done already. Make sure you're getting the guidelines again, the 1.6 to about 2.2 grams per kilogram body weight, and make sure that you're not. This is the thing as well. It's really quite difficult to kind of say because people take it real kind of personal. But when you do food diaries and when you actually log people like in labs as to how much they report that they're actually eating, people are just humans, just by judgment, just by everything else. We always unintentionally, I'll definitely add, unintentionally underreport how much food we're actually really having. So a good place to probably will be, go right back to the start, as myself and Marcus have kind of said, that food diary, that logbook, and check whether you may be sneaking in a few calories there that you're just unaware of. It may be a sauce, maybe a bit of butter, maybe this, or maybe the coffees, or whatever it may be in terms of like lattes and that. So just again, go back to where you were, dial down the food, plan out a little bit better, make sure the protein is in there. On your big energy days that you need a lot of fuel, make sure you got plenty. On days that you're really kind of quiet, or it's a rest day or recovery day, then you can take a bit of a a drop in your total calories, because you just don't need it. You're not being that active, so you can knock down a couple of carbs, and that net deficit over the week will be there.
Great, great. Yeah, good reinforcement of that key message and getting those basics right. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tim. Okay, last one. Being middle-aged, even though I'm still slim, I'm starting to get more belly fat. Any tips?
Not more than what probably I've already kind of said. It is, it's not really overly, I guess, encouraging to say, yeah, when we all get older, body starts changing, things start slowing down, hormones kind of change. Men, we stop producing less testosterone. Women get at a certain age, obviously menopause comes into things as well. So it's just the old grandfather clock coming to kind of get you. Really, I guess there's not a great deal we can do other than look at what we're doing in terms of training. Weight training is fundamental, most definitely, to maintain that lean, strong kind of physique, particularly with bones and tendons and ligaments. And also just making sure that you're eating well, you're getting enough protein in. Again, I'll reiterate that one again, enough protein, space evenly throughout the day, and you're eating as high quality nutrition foods where you can, the fruits and the veg, with a bit of fats. Yeah, so there's not a great deal you can really do other than just keep dialing on your training in terms of activity, exercise, training, and then your diet as well.
Yeah, spot on. Top work. Right, so that's done. That's another one. Bites the dust. Fat loss when teaching. So we are into nutrient timing and a lot of key questions around eating late.
Okay.
So we have eating late at night when teaching evening classes. I either feel like I've eaten too much or I don't want to eat. Any advice?
Well, not really. I don't know, if you're feeling like you're eating too much, then I don't know, maybe you have eaten too much, or if you're not eating enough, then probably never eat a bit more. I'm not quite sure what the kind of real question there is. I guess the fundamentals there is to try and make sure you do put something back in the body. Find out the foods that will suit. Give your body time to kind of digest, and make sure, again, following the 5-step plan, it's protein and it's carbs, to make sure that you're really well set up when you go to sleep for that 7-8 hours. They wake up next morning and everything is there as you need. Might again sound really boring again, but just tinker and tailoring, trying different foods, the combinations. If you're feeling quite kind of bloated, like you're having a lot, that may have been just a very high fat content dinner. So you might want to look at that again and see which ones kind of clear the gut a bit quicker. So, kind of a lower fat option, more protein, more sort of carbs, and just see how it goes. Just try what's going to suit you best. Log it down. That didn't work. That worked. That didn't work. And then kind of find out what kind of works for you best.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Does it matter what time of day you eat?
No, not really. To be honest, no, not really. The key things there again for protein, evenly spaced throughout the day, because your body cannot store amino acids and protein. But no, eat when you want, eat when you kind of need. There are meal timings that we mentioned in the webinar before. Yep, to shift towards more athletic nutrition, we want pre-class fuel and post-class kind of fueling, because that's really important for muscle glycogen replenishment. But the whole big scheme of things doesn't really kind of matter. Biggest thing matters is make sure that you have adequate protein, adequate carbs and calories throughout the day and throughout the week.
Great. Last one. Is eating a main meal at 9:30 p.m. then going to bed an hour later too close to bedtime?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I don't know, it's a bit of a myth that came, I don't know where, you know, it may come back from the whole carbs after six nonsense, or whatever else about, you know, your body doesn't just stop at 10 o'clock. It's not on the clock. You know, there's no check in, check out where the body and the liver and the stomach will go, listen, it's 10:30, I'm going to knock off. The body is still going to work. The big thing is to make sure that you're not having maybe foods in a real high, you know, fat content, and that you feel comfortable when you do go to sleep. You're not going to miss out on assimilation. You're not going to miss out on digestion if you go to sleep an hour afterwards. You know, because your body, the stomach will still be there, chemicals are still there, blood and streams, and you know everything is still working while you're sleeping. So essentially, like, no, if that's your lifestyle where you come in, as no doubt we have, a lot of people do come in at 9:30, 10 o'clock. You know, you're knackered, you're tired, you need to have some food. It's really important because you've just stressed your body. So you've stressed your body, you know, muscle tissue is broken down, muscle glycogen is depleted, you're in a bit of a bad state. You need to put that fuel, quality nutrition back into the body before you go for an 8 hours. So imagine if you only ate at, say, 6 o'clock at night, you're away teaching for 2 hours, come back at 9:30, and don't eat a really great food or many calories. Then you're going to sleep for 8 hours, and then you're only getting food back in at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's a huge window where you're missing out, you know, on refueling, looking after your body, when your body is literally crying out for amino acids and proteins and carbs and glucose and all the stuff that it needs, because it's just been hit hard with a class or two at night. So whether it's half an hour is dinner and then half an hour, or dinner and an hour, or dinner an hour and a half, whatever suits you. But no problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever.
Right.
The little one on that one, sorry, Mark, the little one on that one there. Again, food quality. If you've been really good food quality, so high food quality breakfast, high food quality lunch, high food quality pre-class snack, you can afford to have that. Remember we spoke about moderate foods, so you can come in and just have a pizza and a bit of garlic bread and a side salad of like lettuce and tomato and spinach and a cucumber. That's not the worst thing to have when you come in. So the most important thing there is getting the macros and you know, into the body. It doesn't need to be a perfect meal or a high nutrition meal because you've done 3 good meals through the day. You know, there's 3 high quality meals. Now you're having like a moderate one. That's fine. You know, totally fine. The most important thing, protein and carbs and fats and calories after teaching.
Yeah. Spot on. I definitely think it comes from that myth of no carbs after 6 p.m. You know.
Yeah.
All right, great. So I know we've got diet up there, diets and diet culture up on the slide. So we will make this the last one because we've been going for a little while now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll make this the last point for everybody. So we'll start with what about consuming all calories within a restricted period, i.e. within 8 out of 24 hours, and intermittent fasting.
So Mark, can you repeat the first part of the message,
Yeah.
the question?
Yeah. What about consuming all calories within a restricted period, i.e. within 8 out of 24 hours, and intermittent fasting?
Right. So what about it? Well, I don't know. What about it? I guess if you have to because there's no other way because of either work or whatever else, well then there's nothing you can really do about that. That is what you kind of need to do. Intermittent fasting is another dietary approach for general population to eat a total less calories. You know, so the imposed thing is that you eat maybe in the morning, then you eat late at night, and then you have this big window in between where you don't eat or drink anything. So you don't eat anything, and that will help you eat less calories and lose weight over time. So it's just another way to kind of you know, diet and lose weight. But hopefully, remember from the webinar previously, you know, it's a general population kind of diet. It's maybe not what we kind of need. I know there's a bit of stuff out there that people will say you burn more fat or it's a bit healthier and all that kind of stuff. I've not really seen any real solid evidence to really prove so. The fundamentals always will be, at the end of the day, the total calories will be your health markers. If you can lose weight because of net calorie deficit, health markers will improve. If you can increase protein and meet your macronutrient requirements and needs, your health markers will improve. If you work the job where you just can't eat 8 hours, if you're a nurse or a emergency worker or anybody that that has a job where you just can't eat for 8 hours, well then there's not much you can really do about that. It's a case of just making sure you have enough food in those 2 big meals. So you're putting now the onus, instead of saying, for example, spreading 3 meals of 700 calories, now you're going to have 2 meals of 1,000 calories. So the onus now is to make sure that those calories that are going to be missed out between the middle of the day need to go on the opposite end. Because if you don't have them, like we mentioned before, the ramifications of not eating enough throughout the week, you're going to be sore, tired, grumpy, injury, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the onus there. Intermittent fasting and fitness instructors, I wouldn't advise it. I just wouldn't, because if you're teaching protein and carbs throughout the day, protein again, it's muscle maintenance. It's not so much like muscle growth. It's muscle maintenance. There's a very fine point of muscle protein synthesis between being synthesizing and kind of breaking down, being anabolic and catabolic. And if you stay more in a catabolic breaking down way, your muscle's wasting. It's like muscle wastage. You're either maintaining and building muscle, or you are kind of losing muscle tissue. And the only macronutrient that can do that for you is amino acids and protein. So sorry, protein with amino acids. Okay, amino acids are within protein. And if you go on a fast for 8 hours or 10 hours or 14 hours, you are missing opportunity windows to put protein into your body. So for that, that's one of the main reasons why group fitness instructors and intermittent fasting, unless you absolutely have to, unless it's enforced, I wouldn't really kind of go kind of near it. If you're wanting to lose weight, as you spoke about before in the previous topic, there are much easier and better ways to go down that. For your colleague who's a Gen Pop perhaps, or a friend or family member that's Gen Pop that wants to do intermittent fasting and find it useful, well, it would work, and it could work because it's going to help you to eat less calories over the day and over the week. But as you know, we're a little bit different. We kind of need that fuel in the body, and we need to be looking after kind of a muscle tissue. With your male or female, whether you fat loss or muscle gain, you need to maintain that muscle tissue in the body 100%. So yeah, it's not a big one for me. I'm not a big fan. It's a kind of a thumbs down number for me.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll do one more.
Sure.
So thoughts on keto, because this is often a common thing in the world we have today.
Yeah. So thoughts on keto is, I don't know, it's a very, very open kind of question, or sort of topic. Again, keto it came about, again, another diet. So we had the era of no gluten, and then we had the era of Atkins, and then we had the era of this, and the 2 years of this one, and then 1 year of this one, and we all just almost ping pong around diets, trying to find a diet that kind of suits us, when they're all gen population diets and everything else. So I think about kind of keto is a lot of people really misunderstood and really don't understand what really happens and what you need to do in order to happen. So being ketogenic or being in ketosis isn't about no carb, it's about low carb. And it's very difficult for you to know whether you are in ketosis unless you do like blood samples and stuff to make sure that your body is now producing ketones instead of glucose for fuel. Okay. However, your brain can only use glucose for fuel. So, it is one of those weird kind of ones. All right. So you do need a certain amount of carbohydrate in your body. Keto was it's like healthy fats. So we went really crazy with our coconut oil and avocados and nuts and all that kind of stuff. But we know that fats contain 9 calories per gram. So yeah, if you overeat total calories, whether it's healthy fats or no fats or whatever else, you're going to be putting weight on. And I made a comment a few times on social media about, ketogenic. It's not so much a weight loss program or a diet. You can easily gain weight because you've almost given free carte blanche to eat as much healthy fats as you can. Well, healthy fats still maintain calories. If you eat too many calories for activity, you're going to gain weight. And then obviously we had, people like to kind of join onto things and hashtag a comment or a diet or this, whatever. It's just the way that we are as society, I guess. It'd be like one meal of eggs and avocado, I'm in ketosis, there's my ketogenic meal, and then they'll go and eat normally for the rest of the kind of day, and they kind of miss the kind of point of kind of everything. So, for fuel, for group instructors, having a higher kind of fat intake, so not maybe being ketogenic, but having a fat intake can work if your classes, if your programs are the low moderate intensity. It's all about that energy system trick again. So if your heart rate is really high and you're really intense, you're burning, you're blowtorching carbohydrate. If you are a marathon runner and you're doing long, steady, aerobic activity, then yeah, you're using predominantly, not all, but predominantly fats. So it just kind of depends. It's not, it's not the worst thing out there. It's just another diet. It has its uses. Some people like it, some people don't. If you want fat loss, you've got to be in a calorie deficit. For group instructors, again, better approaches than keto, better approaches than intermittent fasting. These are all different diety things, and we've kind of ping-ponged around from, as I said, from gluten to Atkins to this to that to IF and everything else. When all we need to do is like get the logbook out, look at the fundamentals. What am I doing? What do I like and what do I need? And then look at the guidelines, look at the meal ideas, weekly planner and tracker out, going, right, cool. Let's start planning my meals. What do I like? Get enough protein, enough carbs, hard days, low days if you want. Track and monitor for a week or two, and you'll be absolutely set without worrying about which diet we're going to hashtag or which diet we're going to kind of jump to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the good insight. Yeah, covering off those diets and yeah, the things we kind of see day to day now that come through as almost trends, these trending diets. So yeah, hopefully you guys listening will help support you that, and just remember, like we've been saying constantly through this session, just get the basics right. Like Tim just said, log the calories, get the pen and paper out, see where you're at, and then think about that pyramid. So go back to the previous webinar where Tim was coaching you guys through that pyramid and getting those basics right as that foundation. So for tonight, we will finish up. Thank you, Mr. Tim Meadows, for providing us with your expert knowledge. Hopefully, to all of you guys watching this back, it will be a benefit to you in supporting you as instructors, so you can look awesome every time, every day, and we'll hopefully continue to explore these various topics that help support you, as an instructor as well, and getting the most out of your teaching performance and just feeling great. So yeah, big thanks to Tim. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, you can tag us in Les Mills official group, or contact us on social media. So yeah, enjoy and get the pen and paper and start logging and yeah, get those basics in.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thanks for
great.
joining.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.
Cheers.